So Korean is probably the second hardest language for English speakers to learn. It's super easy to read. Like you could learn to read Korean in like a day. In fact, before my mission, I had a bunch of Koreans in my ward, and they actually taught me how to read it and pronounce it. Like, but to actually be a good speaker of Korean is like pretty complicated. It's pretty hard because for one, you have to like retrain your mouth and your tongue. Like they have this letter called it's a ryu. It's between basically an L and an R. So you have to teach your tongue to like do that. Anyway, it's like you have to teach your mouth how to reform itself a little bit. But pounding, just keep working on it, and it just kind of, you develop the different muscles you need over time. But what I would say, like for studying Korean, it's like since it's probably one of the hardest languages. I mean, I memorized thousands and thousands of words, but I still couldn't, and like sentence forms and like grammar and all that kind of stuff. But like to be able to speak like a Korean, it's kind of hard because like you memorize the word, it's like, oh, this is lunchbox. But it's like, well, that's not the right lunchbox to use for that, right? And so there's like hundreds of words, and it's mixed between Chinese and then Korean. There was like this Korean emperor that he basically, like Chinese is like, this is way too complicated. All memorizing like all these like Korean characters, this is like way too hard for the working class of people to learn. So he developed the Korean language. So it's built off of Chinese, but it's different. But because of that, you get all these kind of Chinese influences, and then Koreans have made up their own words. And so you kind of have like these multiple meanings and multiple uses for different words. So it makes it just like super confusing, and like how do you know when to use different things? Anyway, so for studying Korean, since it is like this super complex language, you have to always be studying it. And so what I would do to study Korean every day was I would get a 3x5 card. I would put down like my 10 words I was going to try to learn that day, and I would write down a couple sentences. Now, memorizing sentences was probably one of the best things I did, because like you have those sentences that you can just turn to all the time. You're saying them perfect, and you can just like turn to them. If I could do it over, I'd probably just memorize like hundreds of sentences, like thousands of sentences. Like in this situation, this is when you say this, and then memorize that sentence. And then I would put like one or two grammar forms that I would be memorizing. And learning and trying to use. And so throughout the day, to like proselyte, instead of like going up to people and be like, hey, I'm a missionary, like read the Book of Mormon. Have you heard about the Book of Mormon? Like I did that too, like better than that, obviously. But I would go up to a Korean, or sitting on the bus, I was like, hey, I'm studying Korean, and I'd be speaking all in Korean, I'd be like, I'm studying Korean, and how do I use this word in the right context? So I'd ask people that in Korea, and they'd be like, oh, well, and they'd like give me an example and teach me. I'm like, oh, that's cool, thank you. Like, so is this right? And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, cool. I'm here a missionary at Korea serving. That's why I'm trying to learn Korean, because I'm a missionary. Have you seen missionaries like us before? And then it was like, so I was studying all day, but then it was able to be kind of my break the ice to sharing the gospel. And so that was a very, very effective tool to like dual like punch, learning language, but also studying. And Koreans, it really means a lot to Koreans that when they can see you like studying super hard, because Koreans are probably some of the most diligent, just insane study, education people I know. Like it's just like in their DNA. Like kids in high school, they literally go to school from like 6 a.m. till like midnight, literally, because they take this big test and it kind of places them in society. So they study like crazy. So when they see you really trying to learn their language, it kind of makes them feel really, really good and kind of like you pretty quick. So anyway, so that's a tip. So always just like be memorizing sentences and those words, and use that as a way to break the ice when you're proselyting.